I'm privileged to be here. I'll be talking about Pakistan's limitations in the war against extremism. My point of view is a little bit different than everyone else's because I come from a point of view where I've actually seen this face to face. For the outsider, it's easy to look at Pakistan and see us with a very negative eye. For decades, we've had unstable governments, rampant corruption, and rights of swaths of people ignored. These are the reasons why extremism has taken place in Pakistan and been able to grow so easily. For the outsider, it's easy to understand that the greatest challenge that Pakistan faced in the war on terror was the instability within our own country. That's the instability that's given Pakistan the position where it has in the world, where we've turned into the world's terrorist state. Now, understanding the limitations and the challenges we face are greatly associated with the narrative that echoes best with the people that are being targeted. Sadly, the instability of governments has made it difficult for those people to reach those people with any effectiveness. And this hasn't been the case with the extremists. To help you better understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to take you back to 2007 when the Tehreek-e-Taliban invaded Swat. The reason I choose the Swat operation is because that's my home district. I actually got to see what happened there. I watched it happen. I watched what happened with the army. At one point, I joined the militia and helped fight with the Pakistan army against the Taliban. So my understanding of what happened in that district is very different than what everyone else sees. This wasn't the first time that Swat has been invaded. During Benazir's second term of government, they invaded at that point, but they were known as the Tanzimi Nafazi Shariat. The intent there was to move in, expand a Shariat model inside of Swat, and grow from there throughout the Malakan division. When we look at the invasion that happened in 2007, the TTP didn't come with tanks and guns. They came with loudspeakers and a message. The message was something that echoed within the people because of their culture, the values, and the ideals they shared. The message wasn't violence. It was, we can do better than the government you've trusted for so long. And the government you've trusted for so long that since 1971, when Swat became part of Pakistan, has not been able to deliver justice, has not been able to deliver economically, has not been able to deliver for you in any other way, shape, and form. So when the TTP came in, they said, look, we can do better. We'll bring back the Jargah system that you had during Wali Swat's time. We'll give you better policing. We'll give you a better life. Trust us. And the message was soft and gentle to all the people. Now, the people of Swat, as I said, since 1971, when we became part of Pakistan, have been greatly ignored. Roads don't get built, schools don't get built, there's no investment into the district, although we are considered the Switzerland of the region. We have been greatly ignored, and the people have felt it from that point of view that we want a better option. We used to have the best roads, we used to have 99% educational literacy, we're not there anymore. When the move-in happened, the people of Swat said, look, we understand the message because it's addressed to us, the people that are largely ignored. The message wasn't for the middle class, it wasn't for the wealthy. It was for what we call the unseen. And those unseen, that message echoed with them because it carried the values and the traditions that they wanted to see come back to Swat. The message echoed so well that people started donating land, picked up gold sets and handed it over to the TTP and said, whatever weapons you need to buy it with this. We're with you. The greatest advantage the TTP got was it swung a huge body of people in their own favor, and they turned into an asset for them. What do we learn from this? The thing we learn is the narrative that you come to the people with is the most important thing. When we look at the global narrative, the position has always been to paint Islam as the religion of violence. For 1.4 billion Muslims, that's an offense. And you need our help to win this war. It's a mindset that we need to change. As long as you paint us all as villains, we don't come on board and help you fight. What happened to the people of Swat is that when Fazullah came in, he established the Jargah system, he brought back the traditions, he brought back the values, and the people of Swat accepted their occupying force. Now that's a big thing. A group of people moved into a peaceful district, occupied it without using any weapons, and got the people on their side. The reason was the message. You gave them such a heart-rendering message that the value echoed with them, and they said, yes, we're with you. At the same time, Fazullah implemented what we call a morality code. People were asked to break their TVs. People were asked to throw away their computers. People were asked to stop listening to the outside world. You effectively cut everyone off from the outside message that was being directed towards you because you said, don't listen. I have a better message for you. And the people of Swat happily followed along. My first time back to Swat when the invasion happened, when I crossed the Patak to enter Swat, they stopped my car. And they said, give us your mobile phone. I handed over my mobile phone. They started looking through the music. They started looking through pictures. They started looking through everything. Said, look, you have things on here that are morally wrong. Either delete them or we keep the phone. This was your way of enforcing things. The second thing you did, because you'd established a system where people believed in you, you went door to door and de-weaponized SWAT. Door to door, taking Kalashnikovs, taking handguns out of people's homes. What you've done is you've taken your occupying force and the people who live there have happily handed over their defense to you and said, we're happy with you, go ahead and do what you want. You empowered the TTP to do what they did to us in Swat. And that happened from our own people. It's not that it happened outside. When Fazlullah's Jirga system became operational, all of a sudden the people of Swat started to see immediate justice. Cases that normally took 10 to 20 years were being solved in 5 to 7 days. There were no more lawyers. There was no more arguing cases. There were no more changing of dates. People were getting decisions quickly. The people started to believe even more. At this point, Fazlullah had not started his tirade of violence. He was still convincing the people, drawing them in, drawing them in, drawing them in. Now understand what he was doing. An occupying force came in, took over a district, and delivered what the government's responsibility was. When you deliver for the people will follow. It's just that simple. This is how they win hearts and minds. When you look at Waziristan, you have the same problem there. People moved in, they settled, they paid money, they married in, they established their roots, and the next thing you knew, they became the force that we were afraid of. The problem started when Fazlullah's Jirga system began to expand and the cases went from the unseen to the middle class and the wealthy. And people saying, so-and-so hasn't given me this, so-and-so has stolen land from me, so-and-so has stolen my rights. At that point, Fazlullah faced his first stage of resistance from the people itself. His response was not to go and talk to the people. What he did is he got on the radio again and he started to incite people against those people. That rise up against the people who've stolen your rights. Rise up against the people who've taken your land. Rise up against the people who've eliminated your economic opportunities. Look at how clear that message is. On this side, with the government of Pakistan, we couldn't echo backwards. We couldn't fight back because we didn't have the same narrative. No matter how much we wanted to say terrorist, violent, extremist, there were so many people in the diaspora that countered our statements. So as much as we kept trying to frame one argument, one religious leader would come, another religious leader would come, one conservative politician would come, and they'd argue that case. That what's wrong with this? It's Islamic, right? Because no violence had started yet. When the violence started in Swat, everything changed. Because at that point, those people that were with you had now been converted into fighters. They'd been trained, they'd been armed, they'd been put out into the field. So all of a sudden, violence now became the answer to every problem. It was no longer talk, push, and get a solution. It was pick up a gun, shoot, kill, beat up, whatever you need to do. We have a choke in Mingora that is known as Green's Choke. That name was changed during the entire occupation to Khuni Choke, the bloody choke. That's where people were cut open, they were hung from light poles as a message to the people. That if you go against us now, this is what will happen to you. And they didn't pick the middle class. They didn't pick the unseen. They picked the wealthy. People who were known to have used underhanded methods to get what they wanted. So they sent a message clear to the wealthy that if you step up against us, this is what will happen to you. Now, we can't say that when Fazlullah first appeared on the scene, when Tanzimi Nafazi Shariat first appeared on the scene, no one knew who they were. We'd all seen them before, we'd all understood them before, but it was never a violent move before. What we have to understand is what one of the major limitations has been is that we have not been able to counter the international narrative. You are saying that our religion is wrong, and there's 1.4 billion of us. And we're all fighting a war saying our religion isn't wrong, it's a religion of peace. What you've done is you picked up verses here, and used that to radicalize people. We aren't the only religion that happens to. That happens in Christianity, it happens in Judaism, it happens in Hinduism, but all of a sudden we became the target. And we became the target for one reason. It became easy to blame us. And we couldn't find unity in ourselves as a religion to deal with this, to counter this problem. When the Pakistan army finally moved into Swat after the politicians decided it was time to fight this war, they were dealing with a people that was more entrenched with the enemy than they were with the state. Now you have to understand that when the operation first started in Swat, these fighters were finding refuge in the homes of the people that lived in those villages. So the army would be chasing, and all of a sudden doors would open, people would duck in, doors would close, the army would go past. When it all cleared, they'd let them out. Even today, members of the Taliban have shaved off their beards, are sitting quietly in their homes, and living peacefully, hiding from the army. Because they've put enough fear in the people around them that they won't move. The other challenge we face is that people follow the extremists because they share their values. It's not that we want the violence, but we do understand that Pakistan was founded for an Islamic point of view. We are an Islamic state, and the government has failed to implement those Islamic values. So when the terrorists step up, they step up from one point of view. They promised us Islam. Where is the Islam? We look at the corruption, we look at the lack of justice, we look at the rule of law. It doesn't exist in any shape or form. You've created a message for them. The last challenge that we face is the alienation of people. You understand that what happened was all due to a narrative. It was due to a conversation. It was due to a point of view, a message that was crafted very specifically. The government of Pakistan wasn't able to counter. Why were we not able to counter? Drone strikes from above, firing from madrasas, return fire from the army, and all of a sudden you gave them the platform, say, look at all the bodies, look at all the bodies, look at all the bodies. And when they said, look at all the bodies, the voices became louder on the other side, that we shouldn't fight. This isn't our war. When this isn't our war, all of a sudden, the fight becomes very difficult. Now, we need to understand that to solve these problems, we need to solve some limitations. One of our limitations is rooting out and cleaning up the radical madrasas that exist in our system. Every madrasa is not bad. The argument that's been made to the public is that we need to clean up the madrasa system. That's not true. We need to clean up the radical madrasa system. Every madrasa is not bad. That is a form of education that's provided to people. The thing we need to be afraid of is what's the message being taught? Are you teaching us violence? Are you teaching us hatred? Are you teaching us to rebel against people? That needs to be cleaned up. As part of that process, we need to understand where their funding comes from. And we saw that once the National Action Plan was put forward, that when you went to the madrasa leaders and said, we'd like to see your funding, everyone said, no way. Why should we show you our funding? We aren't dirty and we won't cooperate. And all of a sudden the message became, the government is against Islam. That wasn't the case. But because we hadn't crafted a narrative from our side, we got beat. And we never got the movement that we needed. Lastly, Pakistan, to solve the problem of radicalization, needs to have a multi-pronged strategy. This is not a military solution. The army can win every battle on the battlefield, but if the government doesn't come in with economic solutions, with social solutions, these battlefield wins are lost. And the extremists come back 100 times stronger, they take a stronger position, and all of a sudden, we've lost again. Now, today's Pakistan is very different than we were in 2007. I hate saying it this way, but part of it is because of what happened on December 16th in Peshawar. The attack on APS solidified this country's morale to fight this problem once and for all. You gave us a reason to want to win. Since that point, Pakistan has seen great successes in the fight against terrorism. The TTP has been pushed across the border. Their networks have been broken. Lashkar-e-Islam is gone. Jamaat al-Ahrar is gone. These are things that we didn't think could happen in 2007, 2008, 2009, that now don't exist anymore. Pakistan is peaceful. When we look at Karachi, the success of the Karachi operation, even though there are many voices that say this is against certain political parties, the target, if you look at the arrest numbers, the political parties combined are 4 times to 5 times lower than the number of terrorists and extremists that have been arrested. No one's talking about that. There's a reason no one's talking about that. As long as you make it impersonal, you can continue to win your argument. When you make it about facts, the argument is gone. Today, Pakistan is no longer afraid. But that doesn't mean we've won the war. We have a lot farther to go. We have many more things to do. We need to fight this to the very end. The ball is now firmly in the hands of the elected government to step forward with rehabilitation plans, economic enrichment plans, and put them into action. Like I said before, if you don't solve the problems now, if you don't find solutions now, the terrorists will come back, the extremists will come back, and they'll be much stronger. And with that, I thank you for your time.